I've learned this from every single celebrity I know. Hey, when if they want boys, you give them boys. So here we go.
Eight of
We
them.
are we are 8 of them. Of course, what we're going to start with, I think.
Not usually this old though.
Okay. The,
You prefer the younger crowd or?
Hello and welcome to level 83 of the Thoughts and Players podcast, the gaming podcast with bold takes and no strings attached. I am Jeremy, here once again with my two compadres. Of course, I have David.
What up?
And I have Corey.
Hello.
Hello. How is everyone doing this fine evening?
Doing all right.
Super.
I thought you were going to add thanks.
No, that was it. That was just it. Like, I'm doing super tonight.
Oh, okay, quick side note. Are you aware of wilderness cooking on YouTube?
Is that where they start a fire and they put like a little thing on there and they like make a knife and they
No, it's this guy, right? He runs a restaurant and has like land, and it's Azerbaijan, like all these Azerbaijan cooks, right? And he cooks up these meals. So he'll be like lamb and bull testicles over a fire stuffed with, I don't know, kale or something, right? And he'll cook it up and he makes it look all delicious and he eats it, and then he gets done and he looks at the camera. He does a thumbs up in a very deep voice and he goes super, and that's all he says the whole episode. That's all he says.
All right.
That reminded me of that.
Right.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
Pretty
chickens, ducks, and
ballsy.
hens. Oh boy, it just almost completely toppled it. That's our David, though. We love him. And we welcome you into this level of the pod. The Mount Rushmore edition. We sent out a poll of people, what do you want to hear? And the people spoke. I believe we had like something like 20 or 30 something votes. We appreciate everyone who participated in the poll. Make sure you do that. Help contribute to the show. We want to make the show that you want to listen to and feel like your voice is heard, because we want to hear you. And you guys, we asked, hey, what's the next game game console we should do as our Mount Rushmore? We've done the Nintendo 64. We've done the Sega Dreamcast. Have a little bit of an update of that I'll share at the end of the episode here. But we asked, what do you want next? And we had a list. And I feel like it was a pretty overwhelming majority voted.
Overwhelming
Majority voted Game Boy.
Yeah.
So people, we're here to give you the EP that you wanted. And so this is the Mount Rushmore of Game Boy games. But, ladies and gentlemen, a little peek behind the blinds here. We were having our meeting before we record, and we decided, you know what? Let's split it up. Let's be as technically accurate as we possibly can. And so we're giving you two. We're giving you a Mount Rushmore of Game Boy games, and we're giving you a Mount Rushmore of Game Boy Color games.
In the same episode?
In the same episode.
What?
The people wanted Game Boy. We're going to give them Game Boy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
That's
you didn't
like
hear with the
Mount Rushmore.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hey, I've learned this from every single celebrity I know. Hey, when if they want boys, you give them boys. So here we go.
8 of
We
them.
are 8 of them. Of course, what we're going to start with, I think.
Not usually this old though.
Okay.
You prefer the younger crowd or?
No, the celebrities. The celebrities.
Okay.
Oh.
Game Boy's 30 years old, 35 years old at this point. A little too old for those celebrities.
When we do the risque jokes, right? We've got to tiptoe around them. Okay?
I barreled in on accident.
Yeah, it's okay though. It's okay.
Got a double barrel shotty going.
That's okay though. I mean, our last level, please, people, make sure you check it out. Is called what is it called? Pure uncut gaming heroin. And I'm pretty sure YouTube is going to suppress that video.
It was nicely
because
done.
of that. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, let's jump into the Rushmore here. People, each Rushmore is the 4 games that define the game console. The first one we're jumping into is the original Game Boy, that big old gray thing, if you will, that came out 80, what was it, 88, 89, whatever.
Yeah.
89, I believe.
89.
Yeah.
Good year.
Good year. Yeah. Good year. And let's hop right into these games. So we have an inkling, great candidates, right? But I think we all have in mind that there's probably some games that immediately jump to mind when we think Game Boy, OG Game Boy. So let's see. If someone wants to jump into the phrase of offering up a candidate, I can offer up one really quick. But if someone else wants to take the lead on that, they can go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the launch title, Tetris.
Okay. You are offering up Tetris as a Mount Rushmore game of the original Game Boy.
Yes, because not only does it double the amount sold in third place, that was one of the most hyped games back then. That's why we have so many puzzle games as we do now. It really launched a whole following, and the music just slaps.
Slaps. Keyword slaps. The Tetris music does slap. To this day, it slaps.
Yeah. What do we call them? Like for sure picks or guaranteed picks?
No brainers.
A shoe-in?
No brainers. Yes, no brainers. Yeah. I feel like every system probably has like a no brainer where you're like, okay, yeah, this system, this game. This feels like one of the strongest no brainers that we definitely have. It came packaged with the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
As we see with mobile, these kind of like quick, kind of like get in play, get out and play, not these longer levels. It nailed that in the form of, play Tetris.
Mm-hmm.
It's the type of game that everybody could play. I don't know back then if a lot of moms or dads were playing systems, but if they were, it'd probably be something like Tetris on the Game Boy because it was just the perfect game for this system and especially perfect to launch with it. So that is 100% in my mind a no-brainer on the list.
Yeah, I'd agree. No-brainer. Tetris for sure. It's one of the GOATs. Like you said, packaged with the game. It kind of embodies, I think, everything coming from like that older retro gaming spirit, the ColecoVision and all those different things like that, right? Like Tetris seems to kind of be the spirit of that. A simple puzzle game that obviously pushes you to your limits, though. It can really test you. And yeah, it's just the pinnacle. It's for sure one of the games that are prime. When you think Game Boy, you think Tetris. Vice versa.
Let's chalk it up.
Yeah.
No debate here.
It's up there. That's
Easy,
George.
easy.
That's old Georgie on the mountain there.
Good pick, David.
Thank
Very
you.
good
Thank you.
Super.
Yeah.
Jeremy, what was your game? Was it going to be well or?
My pick was going to be Tetris, so
Okay.
not very super for me for David to steal that.
Surprise.
But I will go with another game that we've kind of talked about, but I won't say game. I will say games.
It's a collective.
It is the super siblings, the terrific twins, the legendary two parts. That is Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. I think that's the beginning. That's where it starts. That's where the naming convention came from. That's where everything got confused. Why is one red? Why is one blue? We know the Pokemon are different color, whatever. That is the game that started it all. That is the game that I'm pretty sure for me, I got Pokemon Red because of like red, fire, whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's the first game that I put 1,000 hours in my life. I think when anyone thinks of Game Boy, they think of Pokemon. And Red and Blue, I think, I don't know, they have to be the best selling, I would think, if definitely in that top three, if not the number one best selling game or games of the Game Boy's lifespan. Pokemon Red, Blue. I would think, yeah, and of Pokemon Red and Blue, I think take it. That is a Mount Rushmore. That is your Thomas Jefferson. Well, maybe someone a little bit better now. Who's up there? Lincoln. It's your Lincoln.
I have to agree.
I also kind of agree, but like, so the thing is, like, there was a enhanced version that came out within that same system.
Yeah.
Just a year later. A year later. And it's a Game Boy game. And you would be hard pressed to be like, hey, this isn't a better game than Red and Blue. There was a lot of things that it did. It let Pikachu walk behind you. Mm-hmm. It let you get all three starters throughout the campaign. It followed the Pokemon anime, which at the time was extremely popular, along with the card game. So it felt more connected to that world.
Introduced Team Rocket.
Yeah. Yes, Team Rocket was well, Jesse and James. Team Rocket was in the original, but
correct. Jesse and James, yeah.
They just gave. I believe Gary probably was a lot more prominent than just your rival Blue.
Mm-hmm.
If you were Red or Blue. So I think it should be Pokemon Yellow. That's my opinion. I know it started off Red and Blue, and those are the iconic ones, but it's better.
I mean, I'm fine with that if we want to say the amalgamation, the combination of Blue and Red is Yellow, and just say Pokemon Yellow is that. I'm perfectly fine with putting it on there. I mean, kind of all three of them lumped together. I would feel kind of weird having them be separate entries, even though I understand that Yellow is enhanced and does some things a little bit different. I feel like it was just Yellow was just a correction on branding, if that makes sense to me. So, yeah, I would say Pokemon Yellow could take the place of those two games. Makes it easier anyway,
Right.
Wow. How cordial of all of us.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, man.
Pokemon.
That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer as well.
That's a no-brainer. Pokemon Yellow is our Lincoln.
One of them was going up there.
Yeah.
Do we start to think? I've got to pick a game. You guys,
you have to pick a game. Yeah.
You guys pick the two no-brainers. I think I have one more no-brainer.
Yeah.
But I think maybe it gets a little more difficult from here on out. But I would like to go to the Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, which is almost like the consensus best game on the system. It just got a remake a couple of years ago on the Nintendo Switch, and people really seem to like it.
Yeah.
I don't have a personal experience with this game. The Game Boy itself is an old system. I was born the year it came out. I wasn't playing games when I was 1, so anything that I played was hand-me-downs years later when other systems were coming out. But I know this game stood the test of time well enough to get a remake that left it mostly alone, if I remember correctly from reading the reviews. So it seems like with these kind of Nintendo systems, you're always going to kind of get a Zelda because Zelda's excellent.
Right. Yeah,
and it kind of deserves to be up there for me.
Okay.
I mean, I can agree with that. And it was just released for the Game Boy. It wasn't like a lot. See, the problem with Game Boy is a lot of the games were released for the Game Boy and the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh, right. Yeah. So you kind of like double dip and you're like, you'd rather play Nintendo. But yeah, this one was exclusive to the Game Boy.
Yes.
Yeah. I do think that's a no-brainer. I do think it's a no-brainer. So
we have 3 no-brainers.
We have 3 no-brainers. And then I feel like number 4 is it's the wild card.
Preference.
It's personal preference. And I feel like we're gonna maybe get some pretty sus games here based a lot on personal preference. But let's start to go through it. Do we want to offer up some candidates? Or I mean, how are we feeling here? I'll offer up one.
Okay.
That I think a personal favorite of mine, probably not going to make it. If memory serves me correct, Game Boy, and I remember playing this, is where we get the original, the first Harvest Moon. And
very first, huh?
The first Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon has had a soft spot in my heart going back to that game. And so when I think of my experience with that, I think of Pokemon. I think of Tetris. I think of Harvest Moon. That may be my 3rd or 4th game that I actually think about when I'm thinking about the entirety of the games I played on that system. There's some other ones, but of course. But it's the first thing that kind of come out to really be like, hey, this is like a farming simulator kind of thing you can play. But it has these characters that kind of look like the Pokemon characters, and you can do all these different things and like raise animals and this on the go. It's fantastic. So I put Harvest Moon up there as a possible candidate, with the understanding it may not reach it. I understand Harvest Moon has become progressively more niche, but it was pretty big back then. So
it's considered. The council will consider it for sure.
Right.
Okay.
There's a bucket.
Did you know that was the second game in the series?
Harvest Moon?
Yeah.
What was the first?
Story of Seasons, known as Bokuju Monogatari.
Is that the first one, or is that just the Japanese version?
Story of Seasons was the first game to be released under the new International Series title. I think that is the first one, and then Harvest Moon is the second one. I don't know.
But I know
it
it's
says second, but I do agree that it could be up
Harvest
there
Moon, the
because
first
Harvest
Harvest
Moon
Moon.
is still talked about till this day.
It is. As a game going by, unfortunately. I know they just released one this year. We had found out in previous episodes, and your boy hasn't reached out to try to figure out what it is yet. I might eventually, but I've got other fish to fry, so to speak. But I'll offer that up, Harvest Moon.
Okay. I'll offer
not terrible.
up.
Not terrible.
What about Dr. Mario?
That was on my short list. Iconic puzzle game.
Very good.
First instance of Dr. Mario. I don't really enjoy the Dr. Mario games that much.
Yeah.
But, you know,
it was great though.
I don't like them, but you know, it's we have to weed out and decide which one's the best one. It's 100% up there as iconic, and it's stood the test of time somewhat. You know, it's not super popular like say a Tetris is, but you know, it's out there.
Okay.
If I could give one,
offer up one.
and I thought, you know, this might be an easy fourth, but maybe it's not with you guys picking the other two. Kirby's Dream Land.
I was looking at that.
We have the very first instance of Kirby, and Kirby is extremely relevant this day and age. And I can only imagine at the time that it was a pretty innovative game when it came out to the Game Boy.
Right.
And there's a few of them. Kirby's Dream Land 2 looks like it's probably the top one that people talk about. Yeah, it looks like that's the case. But you know, Kirby's up there. For another quick one, Wario Land.
I was going to say Wario.
Played a Wario Land game, so
that was pretty nice. That was a really nice one. Yeah, really had a lot of fun with that. Wario Land is up there. That is up there.
You guys have any others?
What's funny is Wario Land 3 is on the top 50 and the other two aren't.
I mean, they got it right.
They got it right. They got it right. The other one I was going to offer up, this is one that I understand a lot of people love it, but I didn't really enjoy that much, is Donkey Kong.
Yeah, okay.
That's up there.
I'm not a big fan of the original arcade games.
Donkey Kong Land.
I'm not a really big fan of it, but
from quick reads, it looks like they added a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
But I never played it. Don't really like the original. Yeah. Obviously, it's a classic, an all-time classic. I think you had mentioned when we did what's the other Nintendo console that we did? We did
64.
We did 64, and you said it felt weird you have to have a Mario game. There is a Mario platformer on this console.
Yeah.
It's the Super Mario Land games.
Yeah.
So like, is that just the easy way out?
It is an easy way out.
Like no one's gonna hate us if we pick Super Mario Land. You know, it's
Super Mario Land 1 and 2 are third and fourth spot for most sold.
Yeah, I mean there you go. And it looks like
but that's because this is a Nintendo console. I would say of all the Nintendo consoles, this is the one where Super Mario specifically, I don't know if you line up and say that that's one of the strongest entries from a game perspective, you know. Even though I understand, again, it's the game that is the Mount Rushmore, and if it occupies third or fourth or fifth most sold, maybe people that's what they value with. My personal barometer, when I think about the Game Boy, I don't think about Super Mario, but that's just for me.
I mean, I agree.
I think people do. I think they think of Super Mario Land. I'll tell you, it has some of the best music. Like there's a track in it in Mario Maker, and man, that has a bop to it. Some of the best. I don't even know. It's not even 8-bit, is it?
No, it isn't, right?
I have no clue.
I think it is.
Just from looking at lists here, we have Final Fantasy Adventure.
I was looking at that.
which turned out to be the Mana series, which the Mana series of games ends up being a very good action-oriented RPG series that I think they just got a couple games last year, like a remake or something a couple years ago. Again, I don't like the Mana series, so I don't know, gentlemen. I feel like I'm going to leave it up to you guys in terms of
this one is kind of tricky.
What we really want to do with the fourth game. I'm okay with selling out and doing Super Mario Land or Super Mario Land 2. That seems to be the higher rated one.
So I'm willing to go with Kirby.
Really,
I was going to say
Kirby's
that.
still relevant today. Kirby was just on the Game Boy at that time, I believe, for the Game Boy. So it wasn't on the NES or the SNES or anything like that. Kirby seems like a good one.
Yeah. I say
you guys are okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Let's say my candidates are either Kirby or Wario Land. That's what I'm doing for me. So if we're in agreement on Kirby's Dream Land, we can do that. So is that going to be our fourth?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's our
I feel
fourth.
like we're a little out of our element on this one. Just a hair.
Just a hair.
Just like, man, I did play the Game Boy.
A little touch. I mean, like I said, like with any list with mine, it's going to be, I feel like, B tier games that I want to be on the Mount Rushmore. But yeah, I'm completely cool with Kirby's Dream Land. So that makes our Mount Rushmore our 4, right?
Yeah.
We've got Tetris. We've got Pokemon Yellow. We've got what was the third one?
Oh God. A Legend of Zelda.
We've got Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening, and we've got Kirby's Dream Land. Folks, that's your Mount Rushmore of original Game Boy games.
I'd be super happy if I got a Game Boy in the mail today with those 4 games. I'd be like, yeah, that's
100%.
pretty fun stuff. Yeah, that's
100%.
fun stuff. That's good stuff.
100%.
I could put another hundreds of hours into Red or Blue. I just can't win these newer games. There's too much.
No, I don't know if you could.
It was really simple. It was really simple, and that's why it had me.
Jeremy just talked about that. It doesn't age well, right?
The original Pokemon games?
Yeah.
I feel like those age okay.
Isn't there like if your box is full, you actually got to go and like switch out your Pokemon to clear up some box space, and there's a lot
they give you like what's it, like 20 or 50 Pokemon a box or something.
Okay, oh, that's not bad then.
I mean, I think you can like quasi teleport or whatever. Maybe you can't. I can't remember 100%, but it seems like it would age okay.
Okay, all right.
Okay, it aged way better than Shimu. I'll tell you that much. Alrighty, so we're closing out the Game Boy and we're moving on to the Game Boy Color. This is where I feel like we're a little bit more in our comfort, because I think we all kind of joined in the Game Boy Color introduction more than the original Game Boy. So we can kind of
one thing before we move on, just a little note. The series is very new, but for the first time, no fighting game.
First time, no fighting game. Yeah.
I tried to look for one too. There's just not. It's not. So there we go.
They were all, at this time they were all still in arcades, right?
Well, Street Fighter 2 was on there.
Maybe. I don't know how good it would have been. But yeah, sorry to interrupt. Go on. Game Boy Color, we're ready to rock.
Game Boy Color, we're ready to rock. So who wants to offer up a candidate? David, you kind of made a distinction of candidates as far as, so maybe you want to offer that up as being the first candidate for the Mount Rushmore of Game Boy Color.
David drew a line in the sand. He's I am out if we do not separate these two.
Okay, well, I didn't go that far, but I was just,
he did specifically
it said Game Boy.
It
said Game Boy. So I'm like, oh, okay. I just thought of it as two different consoles, But I guess
our families weren't as rich as yours. Sorry.
I was spoiled as a kid. I will not lie. But I was also abused, so it kind of made up for it, right?
I guess that's you. That's you saying that. Nobody else is saying that.
Okay.
Listen, all me and Jeremy are gonna say is we kind of get it. We understand why it happened.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not getting any of this. I don't understand what any of this conversation is.
This is great. I'm gonna have to go with Gold, Silver, Crystal.
Gold, silver, crystal.
Yeah, I'm okay. We kind of made the distinction. We're like, hey, one Pokemon game goes in, they're all part of the same generation. That's fine. Crystal, they did make some changes. I think that was the first game where you could pick a female trainer.
That
I'm
sounds
pretty sure.
Something like that. I know Crystal is slightly different than the other two.
Yeah, you could pick a female trainer, and then they did the thing where like you could probably get both legendaries, or you could get those two games kind of combined a little bit. So
right.
I'm okay with all three. Gold and Silver are excellent, excellent games.
Yeah.
With the added bonus of being able to go to the original region and
100%.
fight all those
Yep.
great games, great sequels. So
yeah,
I'm okay with that. That's a no-brainer
100%.
to me.
Yeah, 100%. Corey, do you want to offer up one?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I do want to jump in. And I don't know if it's going to get there. Where's this game at? Okay, so a game I want to mention is Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories.
Oh,
now
yeah, I'm okay with that.
Now I'm pretty confident that was at the peak of Yu-Gi-Oh's like popularity at the time. Like Yu-Gi-Oh was everywhere. Everyone was playing it, buying the cards, and to have this game come out and you can collect the cards and you can fight your favorite duelist, it was just magnificent. I'm pretty sure it came with like 3 promo cards in the box for you to kind of have and add to your real life deck.
That they did have that with the PlayStation one.
They did them with all of them pretty much.
They did it with all of them? Okay,
okay. Yeah, they did that with a lot of them. But this, I don't know if it was the first Yu-Gi-Oh game. I would kind of assume that it would be. And
one of them came out in '99. This one came out in 2000. 2 of them came out in 2000.
Okay, well, I mean, that's my candidate. I know it's not a no-brainer. I know it probably won't even make it, but I got to give a shout out to Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, see if we can see it on the camera. Do you guys see that?
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's a dual disc. Sometimes I put it on at night and I say lines from the show.
It's time to duel.
Exactly. So that's
I mean, it's definitely a contender.
Okay. And card games are fun, and you don't see too many of them.
Which is funny because
you're going to name a better
Jeremy's
one.
Go. No, I'm not going to name a better one.
You're going to name a different one that's definitely more popular.
I'll leave the card game to you.
Okay.
To you guys, I'm offering up 2 ports. But I think I remember playing on the Game Boy Color and they were great. Well, one I remember specifically, Metal Gear Solid on the Game Boy Color. I mean, the original OG, it's fantastic. They did a great job making it, mobile and making it work that way. The other one I would contend for as well is Donkey Kong Country on the Game Boy Color. Really strong. I remember having so much fun with that game. And of course, the magic with the Game Boy Color, there were the cartridges is you just save the data to the cartridge. So you don't have to worry about any of this saving card or memory card stuff.
Right.
So even when you get to the hard parts, you could save or just keep going on. And that was one of the benefits with Donkey Kong Country. So I offer up those 2. Metal Gear Solid, Donkey Kong Country.
Strong contenders. I mean, Metal Gear Solid
like those.
An amazing game.
I didn't even know that was on the Game Boy Color.
Which one?
Either.
The Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear? No. Yeah.
I didn't know it came off of PlayStation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm surprised they did that.
2 good picks. Like I said, I feel like the no-brainers are a little bit tougher here because I wouldn't put either of those 2 at no-brainers, but I mean, you can't deny the prestige of Donkey Kong Country and Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
David, do you got one?
So mine was actually the Pokemon trading card game.
Mm-hmm.
I did play that. I played that probably almost as much as Gold and Silver and Crystal.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It's a good game. It taught everyone how to play the Pokemon trading card game.
Yeah. I remember for myself not being a huge fan of it because I'm like, I don't want to fight cards of animals. I just want to fight.
I want to kill animals.
Well, we don't kill them, right? We
I don't want to
fight them until they teleport back into the wall.
Real animals.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure, a top game.
I remember very distinctly your character had such fast run speed. Is that something that sticks out to you, David, at all?
I don't.
Like compared to the Pokemon games, your character could book it. Like you hold on to B and your character's just booking it, flying 1,000 miles an hour.
I do remember that.
This is great. And don't remember getting too far in the game, but I did like it. You know, you got to pick one of your decks. It was like a parallel of the original Red and Blue, you know, pick one of the 3 starting decks and go through these 8 islands or something and fight the best people. And it's a fun game. You know, I don't like it as much as Yu-Gi-Oh! In terms of actual card mechanics, but yeah, it's iconic.
You know, just a brief interesting note about the running fast in the Pokemon card game. The rationalization I had for it as a child was that the reason you can run faster in the card game is because your person is just carrying cards. Where in the regular Pokemon games, the reason they move so slow is because they're carrying animals. Right. That was my rationale.
That had to be it.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
We've offered up some candidates. What was our surefire one? Pokemon Crystal, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's been our only no-brainer so far.
That's our only no-brainer.
Pretty much.
Okay. So let's get one game out the way that people may be asking about, and that's Link's Awakening DX. Why aren't we putting that in our top ones for Game Boy Color?
Yeah, I just think I don't know, because
it's essentially just a port, right?
Yeah, it feels just like a port. You know,
it's a port of a Game Boy game.
Right, because we made the distinction between the 2 consoles. Like, I know I argued, like, hey, Yellow is just Red and Blue, but better. Like, Link's Awakening DX is just Link's Awakening, but better. But it was separated by these consoles. Mm-hmm. So we're giving the nod to the original one, and we're kind of punishing this one for not being the original one. You know, is it still the amazing game that just came out? Yeah, it's probably better. You know, with the DX on it, they probably added a dungeon or something or an extra, you know, weapons or stuff to find. It's probably a better game, but it's not the original, and it just feels a little cheap. And I feel like we've been consistent with this, with like, hey, we really like this game, but it feels like this sort of game. So we're not going to put it on this list, even though it might be one of the top games. We're going to save it for this future list. And we kind of did it backwards here. We put it on a previous list, and that's why it's not on this one.
Right. 100%.
We do have. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Well, I was going to say if we only have one, we're still looking for 3. I will push again my candidate of Metal Gear Solid as being one of those that we think about with Game Boy Color.
For Metal Gear Solid to be on the list, it means I have to trust your opinion.
Okay.
Because I don't know anything. I don't know
anything. The way you said that.
That's a very fair
way you said that. That's wow.
So, do I trust your opinion? How close does it actually mimic the original? Because I can't imagine that working. Is it like a top-down view the entire time, and it just kind of takes this 3D game and kind of like transforms it?
From my recollection, that's kind of what it does. Yeah.
Then you know what? I'm okay with it. I do trust your opinion sometimes.
Okay.
So if you want to start carving Solid Snake into the mountain, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Well, we'll start etching it. I'll offer up another one though. Now we ended our Game Boy Mount Rushmore without a Mario game. I would be remiss, I believe, if maybe we didn't consider Super Mario Bros. Deluxe, which is a port of the Super Mario Brothers game, but it's for Game Boy Color. It was fantastic. Had so many like other great things about it. Right? It included some like extra levels and stuff as well. How do we feel about Super Mario Bros. Deluxe? Or do we also end the Game Boy Color Mount Rushmore with no Mario, which I'm more than happy. I mean, we got a whole bunch of Marios on here. Yeah, Mario Tennis is on here. Mario Golf is on here. Like, what are we thinking?
Like, honestly, I would rather have one of those than that Mario.
Yeah, I'm not too sold on it. It's just Mario 1, like the NES version.
Yeah.
Obviously, with color, it's probably some nice looking color. I'm not sold on it, to be honest with you. I'm sure, obviously, that's an excellent game. That's going to make the original Nintendo. That's the biggest no-brainer of all time. But
yeah,
no, I'm not. Okay. I'm not too sold on it.
Okay, 100%. Just offering it as something. I mean, right. I'm not really. Yeah.
What about
one I wanted to offer real quick.
Okay.
One I haven't played. Like I said, I guess this is kind of a blind spot in my gaming history, but Metroid 2: Return of Samus. Metroid games are generally thought of as excellent games. This was a Game Boy Color exclusive. It got a remake on the 3DS a few years ago.
Okay, if it's exclusively on the Color, I like that already.
Right.
That's
I think I remember this Metroid, and I think it was really, really good.
Okay, and I remember someone was remaking it before Nintendo sent them a cease and desist.
Yes,
a couple of years before they made their own version of it. So it's kind of tough because we're kind of going based off of hearsay and what we think the legacy is. But I think it probably deserves to be on there.
I like Metroid a lot.
I do too.
Yeah.
And if I would have played it, I probably would have been much stronger about it. Like, yes, it has to go on this because every Metroid that I've played probably is going to be fought by me to make that Mount Rushmore, whatever system it is. So, I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Okay,
I like that one.
Okay. I mean, if we're all in agreement,
so
I'm in agreement on it.
Samus, he gets the spot on there. Great.
She. You can't misgender Samus. I mean, oh, come on. So we got
coming at me like this.
Metroid 2. I mean, you heard David earlier. He said he will burn everything down. Very volatile people on this episode. We've got Samus with Metroid 2, and we've got Pokemon Crystal for sure. And we're kind of etching Metal Gear Solid into this.
I thought we gave it to him.
Okay, let's give it to him. Let's give it to Solid Snake then.
I'm still unsure.
He's still unsure then. Okay. So we're not going to etch it completely in. Still half built.
Half built. Yes. What about Pokemon Puzzle Challenge?
Get out of here. I don't want that.
Really?
Boo.
Are you serious?
I mean,
that made Pokemon Puzzle League on the N64, and that was an amazing game.
I think we should be happy that Tetris made Mount Rushmore. I don't really want any more puzzle games making too many of these.
What are you talking about?
Well, Tetris deserves to be a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, Tetris does.
This puzzle. I mean, we got there's so many other games.
What's next?
Okay.
Yoshi's Cookie.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of Dragon Warrior games on here.
I'm not familiar with them.
That's Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
That's Dragon Quest. So
why is it Dragon Warrior?
That's what they used to be called back in the day.
When
it started off. But yeah, that's an iconic, super iconic franchise. Akira Toriyama art. The Dragon Ball Z guy. I don't know if he was doing it back then, but I would assume so. Real iconic. Loved in Japan. Like I've read stuff before where when a Dragon Quest game comes out, like everyone's taken off of work. So good pick. Like I said, I don't really know too much.
Do we put it? Do we put it over stuff like?
I would rather put a game I like. I would rather put a game I like that I know,
like a Donkey Kong Country,
like a Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duelist.
What about The Legend of Zelda: The Oracle of Ages or Seasons?
Oh yeah, shoot, that probably is. That's the Capcom one, right? I believe those are the Capcom ones.
It doesn't say on this thing that I'm looking at.
I need to look that up. I believe those are the Capcom ones.
But also, I don't know whose list I'm looking at, but number 6 is Metal Gear Solid. So if more people know about it, I'm okay with it now. Because I wasn't just sure if it was just like a.
I hate this. All right. For one, I hate this. All right. I hate this. That every single time we got to do it, that somehow you're thinking that Mario's going to be doing the sticks it, and it Zelda pops up, and Zelda's here all the time, right?
True.
But then deservedly so. The Zelda games are always exceptional. Yeah. The Legend of Zelda. Did you say Oracle of the Ages or Oracle of the
Oracle
Seasons?
of Seasons? It was both. They had like a.
It was like a dual. Yeah.
I unfortunately didn't play either of these ones.
They were made by Capcom, and I think they're pretty beloved, like as a twosome right there.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying. This is GoldenEye for me, right? It's Zelda.
But now that we have Zelda, I kind of want to kick off Metal Gear. Like I thought we needed a couple.
Well, because you're trying to get Yu-Gi-Oh on, so you want to kick off Metal Gear.
I thought we had a couple spots to play with. Like if you have a couple spots, like yeah, sure, give it to the kid, that everyone picks on. Like,
I was even heard of this Yu-Gi-Oh game except for David.
Little 2/3 of the podcast. I've heard of it.
Yeah, but if you look and hear the people, I am the people. The people is I.
This list has the Metal Gear Solid way above Duelists.
Well, my list has Duelist above Metal Gear Solid.
That's
how his list is working. He don't care. This is a person that is bent on creating chaos. Okay.
I'm not bad. Listen, I need to ask if either of you have played this game because I have not. But I distinctly remember reading a review on it in EGM and thinking I would like to buy this game. Never did, but I want to. Have you guys played Hamtaro?
No.
Dang. All right. I thought maybe it could make the Mount Rushmore, but it's not going to.
Instead of knocking Metal Gear Solid off, let's knock off Metroid 2.
Whoa.
That's a no can do.
What?
Because
it's already edged.
Metroid. It's not even that. It's that Metroid 2 is just on the Game Boy Color, right?
Yeah.
And it's not a port like Metal Gear is.
I'm looking at my list here, and it looks like Grand Theft Auto 2 was on the Game Boy Color.
I don't even.
Okay. All right. It looks like Resident Evil Gaiden. Is that noteworthy? Is that something?
No, Resident Evil people even hate that game.
Jeez.
I'm just being real here.
All right. Listen. Here we go. I'm okay with Metal Gear Solid, and that would actually complete our foursome, right? We have Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Ages / Seasons,
Oracle of
Ages / Seasons.
Yeah.
Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
Metroid 2: Return of Samus, and Metal Gear Solid. Technically we're getting 7 for 4 here. So
I do like the Metal Gear over the Yu-Gi-Oh. And I've played the Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's fine. I threw it out there. This would probably be my one shot at having a Yu-Gi-Oh game on there. I had to go for it.
Understandable. I can't remember. I don't know if we got Wario Land didn't make our Game Boy, right?
No.
Okay. So, I could have petitioned for it with color, but you know what? I'm fine with what we got here.
Yeah. Okay. If you guys want to chalk it up, we gave Jeremy a Attaboy. None of us, me and David, didn't get any of those, but maybe we'll get one later, David.
Life ain't fair, man.
Sometimes it's not. Hey, when you're the host,
oh God.
What are we really supposed to do?
The game's got on there.
There's only so much we can do. So hey, I'm okay with it. I'm okay.
I got one game.
You got Crazy Taxi as well.
That was just a shoe-in.
That makes our list then. Our list is for the Game Boy Color, finalizing it. Our list is Zelda or Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages / Seasons, Metal Gear Solid 2, Pokemon Crystal.
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid, my bad. Metroid 2. And then Pokemon Crystal but kind of encapsulates gold and silver and all that to it as well. How do we feel about that? If we got that as a package, as a list, a dropped off Christmas morning, how are we feeling with that package? We happy with it?
I'm pumped.
I'm okay with it.
I'm pumped. Okay. Like those are like excellent games. And I'm very intrigued. I won't look it up. I might emulate it. I don't know. I'm very intrigued by Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Because you're telling me it's the PlayStation 1 game, right?
From what I recall.
How does that work?
Yeah, I did look it up on YouTube, and it I forgot to look at it, and it now there's a freaking ad. But yeah, it looks all right.
I feel like it would translate really well to top down or whatever they decide to do with it. So yeah, I'd be pumped about getting these 7 games.
Yeah, it's top down.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I kind of want to look at it and maybe emulate it on the Steam Deck.
There you go. Or are you using the first? So okay, hold on. that reaches the end then of our Mount Rushmore of our Game Boy and Game Boy Color. Fun. I feel like, this was a great topic to kind of like, you have to really think back and exercise those really deep memories, as well as just try to get ourselves acclimated with it, because this is less recent type of gaming experience. So we had to tap into it, but you know what? It's good. It's great. I feel like, as we hopefully progress, maybe we get some of these older consoles like the original NES or the Sega Genesis, or of course, everyone's favorite, the Sega Saturn, that we will be able to recall these things a lot quicker, a lot easier. But it was great to kind of like dig in the mind and figure out where all this stuff is at. That brings us towards the end of this episode. Final thoughts, where each of us gives a final thought about something that could be related or unrelated to this podcast episode. So who would like to give their final thoughts first?
Sure, I'll go.
Okay.
The silence just like kills me. I have to talk. Sorry.
I understand.
I thought I had an extensive gaming history. I really went into like this. I know everything, and like I said, this humbled me a little bit. I'm looking at these lists. I'm like, I just haven't played a lot so
games,
could use a lot of humbling.
A little bit of humbling.
He said it.
But
I thought it, but he said it.
It definitely gets me wanting to try some of these, at least not all of them. I'm sure a lot of these didn't age too well, but maybe they did. And just talking about the games that I did play, Pokemon Gold and Silver, I'm kind of itching to play those. I'd rather play Soul Silver, I think, the remake of them, but still, I think there was a lot of good stuff on these systems, and they kind of pioneered the mobile gaming. So kudos to them.
Right. It might be easier going back to like Game Boy stuff, because there's only so much you can do with so little buttons. But like the hardest part of going back to other games like, early day Xbox and like PlayStation is the controls are just really god awful.
Right. You can't really screw up just the two buttons, like you said. Most of them have
like I want to play Survivor or Resident Evil Survivor, but I can't because I can't comprehend the controls anymore. Yeah, that was good. I agree.
I can offer a final thought next.
Sure.
Speaking of going back, playing some of these older games to try to figure it out, through being inspired by our previous Mount Rushmore, which was the Sega Dreamcast, which I've recounted multiple times as being a very beloved console of mine. I have gone back and have purchased a Sega Dreamcast, so that I can once again enjoy this beautifully failed piece of technology, unlike the Google Stadia. And so I was able to acquire that, as well as I didn't pick up Soul Calibur, I didn't pick up Ready to Rumble, and I sure as heck didn't pick up Echo the Dolphin. I picked up Crazy Taxi. So that's going to be the game that I jump into. Also got an extra controller for it. I was surprised that it had extra controllers. Like, wait a minute,
Nice.
I thought these were like extinct, and not only do you have the console, you have extra controllers for the console.
If I may ask, what did that run you?
Very personal question. I will say that the console itself ran about $1 bill, which isn't terrible.
Not terrible.
No, that's a lot less than I thought it would be.
Crazy Taxi ran me about $15, right?
Really?
So
Also
yeah,
cheaper
that's
than I
part of
thought.
the reason. Believe me, they got a couple of games that'll run you $1 bill by themselves for Dreamcast. So I looked at the selection they had. It wasn't great, but I found some things, and I'm like, Crazy Taxi, $15. That's fantastic.
Where did you get this?
Disc Replay.
I was gonna say, did you go to Disc
Congrats
Replay?
for the plug, Disc Replay. Wanna hook a brother up with some stuff. Sponsor us. You know what I'm saying? Because we're doing this whole retro series. Sponsor a pimp. But yes, it was Disc Replay. That's where I found it. I was going to say, if anyone's curious about possibly going back and playing some Game Boy Color games, there was that one console that came out not too long ago. A newer niche console was being funded Kickstarter-wise that was like a Game Boy or Game Boy Color. I don't know if you guys remember the analog. I don't know if I don't think it did that. It was the analog something.
Oh, right.
Something analog. It was like $250 they wanted for it. It's kind of crazy, but it was cool.
Wait,
Yeah.
is that the game with like 3,000 games on it or whatever?
I can't remember.
Or
I
am I
can't
just thinking
remember
of
if it
something
has
else?
games pre-installed or not.
Got it.
I would feel like that would be a licensing nightmare.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think what I'm
There
thinking
was
of is
not the
highly
stealing was
illegal.
signed, but there was also a mobile console that came out called the Playdate. Have you guys heard of this?
I have
No.
heard of this.
So this has like it has the two buttons like the Game Boy, and it has like the D-pad. It also has a crank on the side. And like when you buy it, you get like 12 games, but games are released like once a month. And there's like a season, like a next year of games and stuff. It's very interesting. And that was like you had to pre-order it. I'm on their website right now. It's $200, which is a little expensive, but like
It feels
sounded
bad.
so intriguing. You know, like you have like these modern developers developing these games on like this very specific lo-fi, like you have to make it work. You have to make it work within these confines. And it's like
Right.
it's cool. It's giving me the itch to want to buy it.
Yeah, but I wonder if so many games, like for instance, a Stardew Valley or something, would like run well on machines like that. You'd have to think like games that can run on potatoes, they would be perfectly fine. Because even if they aren't using like they're smaller, if they're using like newer hardware from now, they've got to be primed to run pretty efficiently.
Maybe, like I said, I'm on their website right now, and it looks every game's in black and white. There is no color.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's only two buttons, so I don't even know how Stardew Valley might work with just that restriction alone.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
And it's just, yeah, it's very, very reminiscent of original Game Boy games. So, but yeah, I do remember what you're talking about, the analog. That was, you could just play the old school games on it, right?
That might have been it. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's it for my final thought, though. It's just Sega Dreamcast. I'm gonna play it eventually.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I want this now too.
Uh-oh.
You just want everything, Corey.
It looks so pretty.
Analog?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really
I'm on
nice.
the website. Oh my god, they got the old school like see-through glass so you can see the innards, and they got like the purple. This looks good.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Does it have all the attachments like the Game Boys did?
Not quite, but it does have a backlit screen, it looks like, which is huge because
That's fortunate.
not. And I think we were deceived a little bit because on their page, one of the games that's getting shown off by them, Resident Evil Gaiden. And Shrek.
Shrek is
There
cool.
you go. David, you got
All
a final thought?
I do. My final thought is I talk about music a lot. So at my next upcoming concerts, I'm going to see Slushy. That's with two I's at the end, not a Y. And they're EDM, they're really good. And I'm going to see Sky Daddy, and that's with an X, not an A. And she is a rapper and really good. And that's next Thursday, so that's gonna be really fun. That's my final thought.
Enjoy.
Cool.
Thank you.
This is the year of concerts for you, right? Like,
yeah, I kind of have a problem, or a hobby. I've seen I've seen a lot of concerts this year, last year, previous year.
Nice. I'll tell you a problem I've been having. Not anything like that. I wish it was a problem like that. I'll tell you a problem I've been having. These doggone pumpkin spice donuts from Tim Hortons. Can't stop getting these things.
Dude, pumpkin spice.
Problem,
oh my
man.
god,
It's
amazing.
Problem. Yeah, it's a problem.
You know what? Funny enough, I love pumpkin spice and I love apple cider, but I found this pumpkin spice apple cider one time. I wasn't messing with it. It wasn't good.
Yeah, that sounds like a horrible
It
combination.
was weird.
Yeah. Two very strong flavors.
It just didn't
duking it
go
out.
together well. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it's terrible. Well, that brings us to the end of level 83 of the Thoughts and Players podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the podcast on your preferred podcast service. We are on the Apple and the Google and the Spotify and the iHeartRadios and the Amazon. They still do a thing. We are also on the socials, like at Facebook, at facebook.com/Thoughts and Players. Like it's all one word. We are on Twitter at ThoughtPlayer2. We are on TikTok at ThoughtsPlayers. We are on Instagram at Thoughts.players. And of course, we are on YouTube at ThoughtsPlayers, where we upload video versions of the podcast. Also, if you're digging your boys and you want to support, there's 2 ways you can support. Help us. You can check us out at our Patreon, where we have a $2, $5, and $7 tier, 3 tiers. Check those out. Bunch of goodies and extras, like reviews, like other special episodes, different things like that. And also we have merch. If you want to pick up something like this neat little phone case, you can go ahead and check that out. Perhaps again, you want something with David's beautiful visage, or perhaps you want one of the most infamous phrases uttered in human history. Just check it out. But that is it for me, gentlemen. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Peace. No. Goodbye.
All right, goodbye. We'll catch you on the next one.